Hey, what up, what up, what up? Just got through watching the Errol Spence fight, versus Porter fight a second time, and I managed to score the fight and analyze what I thought about the fight, a little more in depth, a little bit. So let's get to it. First and foremost, I do got have Errol Spence winning the fight, and I do agree with my sentiments before from the last video that it was more of a tough fight than more of a close fight, and I like to say it was a competitive, tough fight, you know. But the scorecards for me, I have I actually agree with the judges. I don't know exactly what the judges, what rounds did they judges score for Errol or Porter, but I have um, Errol winning um, the first and third round. Also, I have him winning the fifth and sixth round, 8 and 9, 11 and 12. I have Porter winning rounds 2, 4, 7, and 10. I have round 9 as a close round, but I gave that to Errol Spence. But yeah, for me, Errol had 8 rounds of 4 for me, which would be equivalent to including that knockdown round, which would make it 116, 111. So I have Errol winning the fight by 116-11. Um, now rounds 2, 4, and 7, and 10. Yeah, I gave those a Porter. I felt like in round two was pretty close, but I feel like it was a toss up round. But I edged it off to Porter. Round 4 was clearly for me Porter. He was really um, pushing the action, and I think he also landed more in that round by one. So I just gave him up to this. Round 7, looked like Errol Spence was taking that round off. Really, it looked like he didn't really wasn't up to anything or trying much. Round 10 was pretty close, but I gave it to Porter. All the other rounds, I gave it to Spence just based on accuracy. Porter was throwing a lot of punches that whole fight. But like in most fights, he's not really accurate, you know. Spence was a lot more accurate, especially with his power punches. I think he was at least 40%. Anyone's 40% and up on their power punches or punches in general is usually an accurate puncher. Porter Porter made it an ugly fight. Porter showed that he has the will to to last. He has good cardio, but he's not a real accurate puncher, and his punches are not effective. So with Porter, he's always gonna be in a close fight, but Porter is not gonna. He's not going to. He's not gonna beat those championship fighters. You know, he's gonna beat all the eight. He's gonna beat like all the B and C fighters. You know what I'm saying? He's gonna beat them or B minus, but for a level A fighter, he's not gonna beat a level A fighter. I mean, unless you would consider Danny Garcia um, a level A fighter, he's not gonna beat them. And I don't know. Porter needs to be a lot more accurate with his punches. I think at this point in his game in his career, I think his game is already made up, and his whole body of work is already. He kind of is who he is, but you can't reinvent the wheel. Whatever you are is whatever you are at this point. But I mean, it's a good fight, but it was a good tough fight, but it wasn't. It was a good competitive fight, but it wasn't close. I don't know how to explain it. People saying, "Oh, that Porter got robbed or it was close." It wasn't really close. It wasn't. If you're talking about the game of boxing, is to hit and not get hit, not how many punches you can throw, how many. You know what I'm saying? It's about hitting the person, hitting the target, and evading the punches that's coming at you. You know what I'm saying? And the casual boxing fan, they would say, "Oh, this was a close fight. This was a close fight." Da 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 da. These are casuals. They're just looking at action, but they're not looking at the science of the game of boxing. The art of it, and it's to hit and not get hit. And clearly, in this boxing match, Errol Spence hit Porter more than Porter hit him. You know what I'm saying? People are looking at how much punches Porter was throwing. Well, Errol Spence was throwing that just as much. It's just the fact that mattered is that Errol was landing a lot more at a higher rate than than Porter. And that's just a simple fact. You know, did Porter make Errol Spence uncomfortable? Yeah, he did. He made uncomfortable. He was pushing the fight, as well as Errol at some point was pushing the fight also at some point in the fight, you know. But people need to understand that how the game of boxing is. If you're just watching it for how many punches someone's throwing or how it may look, that's not what it is. You know what I'm saying? That's not what it is. It's not how much, punches you're throwing. It's what is landing. And they equally threw as many of the same punches. It's just that Errol landed more, like I said before. Like I said, but on my last video, Porter did make it tough, especially in terms of how he was coming in and how awkward he was. Like I said, Errol struggled with his jab this fight. He struggled with the jab, and he couldn't time really Porter his jab. He couldn't time he couldn't time his jab on Porter. Now, if Errol had a better did a better job of throwing his jab this fight would have been much easier for Errol Spence, and he would probably have set Porter up much better. But it was tough for Errol to land his jab and get his jab going, and he fought the fight that Porter wanted to fight, and he beat him at that. You know what I'm saying? He beat him at that. You know what I'm saying? So, all in all, it was a great fight. Great fight. Great action. They're talking about like I said, I gave Errol 8 rounds and I gave Spence 4 rounds. 4 rounds. So 8-4. It was competitive. It was a tough fight, but it wasn't a close fight. Like I said, I think people need. I keep saying that because I think people need to understand the difference between having a tough, rugged fight. You know what I'm saying, and a close fight. If it was 113, if it was like more so 113, 150, if the scorecard was like 113, 115, 114, 114, I mean something like that, they ain't gonna say it was a close fight. But 116, 111, that's kind of like a blowout to me. That's in my opinion, especially with that knockdown. Once he had that knockdown, it blew the fight out of the gates. It blew the scorecard out of people's hands. So that knockdown also made it even more lopsided. So yeah, but kudos to good credit to Sean Porter. I'm hearing that they would he might get the fight again in terms of Errol Spence calling him out via social media. For me, I wouldn't mind seeing the rematch. I think the rematch will be good for boxing fans, casuals, and the people who like to break down fights and who really know the sweet science of boxing. It's good for both people, both watchers. I think a rematch would be good. I wouldn't mind a rematch, especially seeing it a second time, the fight a second time. And immediate rematch for me, I feel like it should happen, and I feel like immediate rematch. I feel like Errol Spence will beat him even more convincingly the second time. Anytime a technical fighter or a fighter who's really good at boxing and not just coming there to brawl or coming there to knock someone's head off. Not saying that Porter can't box. He has a little of a boxing ability here and there. He landed some combinations that I was like, wow, it's pretty good. But I feel like the second time around, Earl will probably make it easier for himself. I feel like the second time around, the better boxer will always do better. You know what I'm saying? So especially like someone like Errol Spence, and I feel like he will use his jab more. I feel like he will. If he uses his jab more in the second fight, he probably will get the knockout. You know, he could have stopped him in the first fight, and I feel like if they fight again, Errol Spence will get the stoppage. I feel like he will get the stoppage. And I'm willing to see that fight. I want to see the fight. They also talking about Danny Garcia maybe happening in January. We'll see what happens, but the second fight will be interesting, and I feel like the second fight, Errol Spence will get the job done. All in all, I do want to see the fight again. Whatever happens, happens. I still want to do some videos on Errol Spence and his uh what he does outside of boxing, and we'll see. Good fight all in all. Hope to hit y'all later with another video. Peace.